coming out to the Henrico Theater, being with us this morning. As always, we appreciate you, and we represent a very large geographical part of Henrico County. And so we try to do a morning or midday-ish type meeting for persons who may be available during the day, and then an evening meeting for those who work and aren't available. This meeting is live, so I know a few persons who may not know that. So if you want to send a message out to anybody that may have told you, hey, I wish I could come, it's real easy. Just go to Henrico with www.henrico.gov, and there's a link for a Varina Town Hall. Does that sound right? Okay. So anybody you post it to your social media, send some text or whatever, and I'll do the same thing once I sit down. Henrico.gov, Varina Town Hall, and they can watch it. We're here today, so we have done different things, but this is going to be, so I'm trying something different. We had been doing 3 different meetings, and I'm the only person that has to do this because over 50% of the land mass of Henrico County is the Varina district, all right? And so I represent more land mass than my other 4 colleagues together. And so to be fair, we try to present the same information in different parts of the district. And so we would pick somewhere in Sandston. We would be here as a middle ground in Highland Springs, and then we would go somewhere in Varina. Last couple of meetings we've had, the Sandston meeting has been not well attended. And so this time we decided we're going to be at the Henrico Theater in the morning, and generally we meet at the Varina Library, but early voting started at the Varina Library today. And so we're going to meet at the Varina High School auditorium. And so if you are, or anyone that is interested in coming tonight, we're going to be at the Varina High School auditorium tonight, okay? We got a full agenda of updates. There's always a lot going on in Varina, and so we've got to pick and choose what to share because we could be here all day talking about all things. Today, we're going to get an update on what's going on voter-wise, voter registration from our our registrar, Mr. Mark Copley. And then we have some very exciting things happening with GRTC, microtransit. And our CEO for GRTC is with us, Ms. Cheryl Adams, and she's going to tell you what microtransit is, and then tell you what's happening in Varina specifically. I've had the fortune to serve as the chair of the GRTC board for the past 2 years, and I think, from what I heard, my colleagues are going to re-elect me as chair on next Tuesday. So, no, not next Tuesday, tomorrow. I said next Tuesday, tomorrow morning. So we'll see how that plays out. Our Director of Public Works is here, Mr. Terrell Hughes, and he's going to talk about the road and sidewalk projects that are happening here in the district. Deputy Chief Chris Ely is here. He's going to talk about some public safety things that are happening in the district. And I talk and shout out to Bobby Haller, who is here. I had seen some stuff on Facebook about some break-ins a couple days ago, but it was a significant outbreak, not just in Sandston, but across in different areas. Somebody was riding around, I think shooting an air gun, knocking out people's windshields. A couple of our school buses were hit. over 30 different vehicles. And so I'm sure Deputy Chief Ely will speak to that, the information that we have anyway. Mr. Alvin Christian, who I saw in the back, is here representing public utilities, and we'll get some public utility updates, and then we'll close with Mr. John Zanino, Director of Recreation and Parks. I do want to acknowledge the presence of our county manager, who I just saw come in. Gave him a town hall off. Usually I would have him presenting something, but just going to let him take a break today. And we'll hear from staff. I will probably ask a few questions. I asked staff to maybe highlight some things that we missed. The only thing I'm going to ask is that staff, you try to take 10 minutes or less with your updates, because I want to offer up opportunity for citizens to ask questions. All right. If you can do that, I would appreciate that. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, if you have some time, we're having a joint session of the school board and the board of supervisors at our administration building off of Perm before our board meeting tomorrow evening. All right, just FYI, just in case I forget that. All right, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Mr. Coakley, and somebody will help run the microphone to citizens who have questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Reverend Nelson. I know we had an hour to present for each department, but we can do it in 10 minutes. We can make it work. So I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning to our presentations. Right now, it's an exciting time to vote in Henrico and Varina. Every year is always an exciting time because we always have 2 elections every single year in Virginia, a June primary for something, and then the November election. This year, it happens to be the presidential election, if you haven't noticed, and we have the U.S. Senate. We have our 4th congressional district out here, and we have a constitutional amendment on the ballot for tax relief for military families. I do want to go back and see, you can see in the slide where the 4th district and 1st district are in Henrico. Next, we have dates to know. And it was mentioned that today, the 21st, is the first day of in-person voting at Varina Library. So we have 9 Mile Road and Varina Library as early voting sites. We also will have 2 Saturdays, this Saturday, the 26th, and next Saturday, November 2nd, to vote if you can't make it during the weekdays. And then the last day to vote in person is Saturday, November 2nd at 5 p.m. So ways to cast your ballot. There is absentee by mail, early voting, and then election day at your neighborhood polling place. In-person voting began on September 20th. We've had 31,000 in-person voters so far in 2 sites. And then today we opened up Varina Library. We do have the Saturday sites that I mentioned earlier. And then as long as you bring an acceptable form of ID and a smile on your face, you get to vote. So acceptable forms of ID, you can see on your other side is how many yeses there are. We have many forms of ID, a driver's license, a passport, utility bill, bank statement, college ID in a college in Virginia, high school ID as long as it's in Virginia. So a lot of different ways to present ID. If you show up, which has happened, in your bathrobe because you live across the street and don't have an ID, you could fill out an affirmation of identification which says, I am who I am, and you get to vote on the machine. Voting on the machine we have ovals. It's a paper ballot that goes into a digitally image scanner. So you want to fill in the ovals completely. By voting that, you can mark your ballot with all your choices, or you can skip some races as undervotes. It's your choice to vote on what ballot and choices you have. Easy way to vote on election day. Just like early voting, you're going to check in, state your name and residence address, and give an ID. You'll receive your ballot after your name is repeated back to you, so we know junior's junior and senior's senior. You'll mark your ballot, and then you'll cast your vote and get an I voted sticker. So my mom lives in Greensboro, North Carolina. She went to vote early at the local rec center the other day. They ran out of I voted stickers. Probably worse than running out of ballots. Well, I'm close enough, because people thought their ballot wasn't counted if they didn't have an I voted sticker. Your ballot is always counted, but we will never run out of I voted stickers either. So we have different ways to vote. I'm going to get into election day, finding your polling place. And that is go to your neighborhood polling place to cast your ballot there on election day. Absentee by mail, we have 5 drop boxes in Henrico County: the Eastern Government Center, Varina Library, Western Government Center, Tuckahoe Library, and Deep Run Recreation Center. So you can get a ballot by mail and return it to a drop box, or election day, all 90 polling places have drop boxes inside the polling place. What's the life of an absentee ballot? Well, in Virginia, you request a ballot by mail, we mail it to you, then the poll worker will examine the outer envelope that has all your information on it to make sure that you put your apartment number on there. And in case you forgot, we can cure your ballot, where we call you and tell you, hey, you forgot your apartment number. We want this ballot counted. So we have a curing process. Poll worker counts your ballot, and then it goes to the clerk of courts to stay for 2 years after the election in case there's a contest or recount. All votes are tabulated on election night. So when my wife asks who's winning so far, I can't give her that answer, right? We put the ballot in a scanner for early voting, but it stays locked up in a secure ballot room. So the tabulators are counted on election night at 7 p.m. Hopefully we'll have results before midnight, because it's a lot of scanners and a lot of tapes. Ballots that are pre-processed early but are not counted. And then anyone in line at 7 p.m. can vote. As long as you're in line at your polling place at 7 p.m., you can vote. If you mail in your ballot, if it's postmarked on election day, we have until noon on Friday to collect those ballots from the USPS, and those ballots will be counted. Check your registration. It's already too late now to register to vote or change your address, but we do have same-day registration, which is a fail-safe way that if you changed your address or want to register for the first time, you just moved here into Varina, you can fill out a registration and vote a provisional ballot today through November 5th, and it will be counted. And I do have some questions from people in the audience or from Reverend Nelson, but I do want to thank you so much for everything that you guys do to make elections successful in Henrico County.
Question. Yes.
I have 2 questions. There's curbside voting right now during the early voting process. Is that going to be continued on election day? And then my second question is, do you have any concerns about ballot security?
Okay. Curbside voting. Yes. If you go to an early voting site, you will see a sign that says, call this number inside the building for curbside voting. Anybody 65 years or older or with a physical disability, not that we ask, can vote curbside. Election day, the same process will be in effect, but we will have two officers manning the door to the polling location, looking for designated curbside voting spots. Ballot security, we really have tight measures on our ballots. We know how many ballots I ordered, which was 90% for election day. It's an exact number. The printer printed that exact number, signed off on it with an oath, and then those ballots are locked in a cage. They go to the precinct. They are checked as a voter takes a ballot and votes. One is checked off as that ballot's been down now to 3,999 out of 4,000 ballots. They're brought back in sealed boxes, locked away on Tuesday night. Wednesday, they go to the clerk of court, who keeps them for 2 years. So there's checks and balances with ballot security.
Any other questions?
What percentage of votes are done early versus the ones that are done on election day?
That's great. So 4 years ago is the first time we had the no excuse absentee voting. We did 66% of all votes counted early, either by mail or in person. Right now, we're about at 39 to 40% of all registered voters, which is 244,000 in Henrico. So about 40% have already cast their ballots, and there's still 2 weeks left to go for early voting. So if you know you're going to be out of town, if you see a wreck on the highway or bad weather you think on election day, come out in the next 2 weeks and get your voice counted.
As it relates to this.
I'm interested in security at the polling places. I understand security for the ballots, but security at the polling places.
So in Henrico County, we do tabletop exercises where we meet with all divisions of Henrico departments, police, fire, EOC, public utilities, public works, even finance, because they have to write the check. And what we do is we go through different exercises about security, even if like a fire alarm happens during a construction, a water main break, disruptive voters outside of 40 feet. There are different scenarios. They have a flow chart. All poll workers have a flow chart of who to call and how to de-escalate the situations, if any occur at a polling place. Hey, thank you.
Sir. We, I think Mr. Coakley is going to hang around. So if you have any specific questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking, I think security is one of those things that is very important to us, ballot security and people security. We are on top of it. And, you know, all of us have confidence in our registrar and his team. And we don't want parked police cars like at polls. That sends a not good message, but do know that all of our officers will be on standby on election day if needed. So, all right, I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Cheryl Adams and her team if needed. And we're going to talk about microtransit, what that means, and GRTC in general. All right, so you just click.
Thank you, Reverend Nelson. Good morning, everyone. I am here from GRTC, and I am excited about everything that's happening in our region regarding transit. Today, we will have a ribbon cutting ceremony for the extension to Virginia Center Commons. Hopefully, you heard about that. We got good coverage on the news regarding that, so hopefully you're aware of that. And if you're available, please come out. We would love to have you there. But as Reverend Nelson said, I'm here today to talk about microtransit. What is microtransit? It's a flexible, on-demand service. The purpose is to serve communities that may not benefit currently from fixed route service. So if the area is not big enough, but there is a need, microtransit can serve that need. It's tailored to meet the unique needs of the communities. We currently have 5 different zones, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. But as you can see, as I stated, it's on demand. So it means you can catch it within the specific area of the zone. And Most of our zones connect to a lot of our fixed route service. So if you need to go outside of the zone, then you would connect to a fixed route service to get to the, your final destination. All you have to do is request a ride. You tell the app or the customer service rep what location you would like to be picked up and where you would like to go, and they will schedule that trip for you. So as I said, there are two ways that you can schedule. The first way is our On the Go app, and the second way is to call our customer service representative. If you don't have the app or you choose not to use the app, then you can make a phone call. Once you call into our customer service rep, they will take the information of your name, your address, where you would wish to be picked up from, and where your destination is, and they will book the ride for you. If you are tech savvy, then you can download our GRTC On the Go app and you can schedule the trip yourself. So those are the two ways that you can take a trip. Once you schedule a trip, a van will be to you within 20 minutes. And you should be out at the location 5 minutes prior to your scheduled time. The driver will wait 5 minutes past your time, but after that, if you're not there, they will mark you as a no-show and continue on. So please be aware of the timing for all of that. Some of the rules before I talk about the different zones is passengers must wear seatbelt when they're on our vehicle, on these particular vehicles, not on our regular fixed routes, but on our vans. You have to wear a seatbelt. Children under the age of 16 must be accompanied by an adult. And if you need a car seat or booster seat for a young person, you are welcome to bring those on board as well. So the Azalea Zone was our first zone that we launched. We launched that in November of 2023. And as you can see, the hours are Monday through Saturday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, the hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So Monday through Friday, 5 to 8, and Saturdays, 8 to 8. This service is curb to curb. So unlike our fixed route service where you have to walk to a bus stop, this one will pick you up in front of whatever location you're at so that you don't have to walk too far. And as you can see from here, there are connections to the Route 1, the 2A, 2B, 2C, the 14, and the 91. The Azalea Zone services different things like Virginia Department of Blind and Vision Impaired, the Amazon Fulfillment Center, Memorial Regional Medical Center, several different apartments, Treehouse Apartments, Richfield Place, and Grand Richmond Apartments are some of the areas that this zone services. The Ashland Zone. Ashland Zone started in March of 2024. And their hours are a little bit different. They start at 6 a.m. and at 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, they are 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. They are, because of the new service that we launched on yesterday, they now have connections to our Route 1 fixed route service. So the Ashland Zone services Randolph-Macon College, the Ashland Hanover Shopping Center, the Amtrak station that is in Ashland, the Amazon Processing Center there, as well as the YMCA and Walmart. The Sandston Zone. Sandston Zone just started July 1st of this year. So the hours are 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And depending on utilization, there's a possibility like with the Azalea Zone that it could get Saturday service. But for now, it's just Monday through Friday. And the connections would be to our 4B, 7A, 7B, the 56, and the 91 fixed routes. And the Sandston area, you can get to the Sandston Library, you can get to the Elko Community Center, White Oak Village, the airport, the elementary school, the Technology Road with the data centers, and Walmart. We always go to a Walmart. So those are the 3 zones. We have a total of 5 zones. The other zone, 1 in Chesterfield and 1 in Powhatan. So let's talk about the 7A, 7B that I just mentioned. We now have high frequency on that route. This started as of yesterday. And there's a trip that leaves every 15 minutes in both directions. So that provides great service heading to and from the airport. There's no change to the routing on the 9-mile loop, but you can get from downtown to 9 Mile and Laburnum or to the RSC. And the best part of our service is it's fare free. So you can just hop on, not have to worry about a fare. So we'll see you on board. Thank you for having me.
You have any questions? Okay, you got a clap. Hopefully you didn't get a clap, so you got no love for your presentation. Any questions for Ms. Adams before she is seated? All right, question in the back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Will the services continue to be free? Is there a set time frame on that?
That's a great question, and that's something that we're still working through. Currently, we have funding through the end of this fiscal year for the fare free, and we are working to ensure that it continues. But that is something that we're currently working through, so I can't give you a definitive answer, but the goal is to remain fare free. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Our board is okay, hold on, Ms. Sherry, you got a question. Our board is primarily the same, and we've been committed to fare free. I mean, it's worked for the citizens. The ridership is high, and there's some benefits to us having high ridership. And so there's some funding that's tied to that. So, I mean, we're going to do everything possible to make sure that fares stay free. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, any service to the train stations?
That's the Route 18, and that is something that we are looking at, not at the moment, but it is something that's in our transit strategic plan to provide better service to the train station, but not right now. But we are looking at that, and we are working closely with Henrico on that project.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Let me toot Miss Cheryl Adams' horn. She when we first came on the board, which is now a little over 2.5 years ago, we were at a really tough spot. Still kind of in the middle of COVID. We were down to like 220 drivers. Our routes had been reduced extensively. Sure wasn't the CEO. We had another CEO. That CEO left and took a job somewhere else. We went through a search, and we didn't land on anybody. And so one day, I just asked Cheryl, I was like, so why don't you want to be the CEO? And from there, that's where the conversation started. And Cheryl was an interim CEO at that time and was doing a great job. The people there loved her. And now we have over 300 drivers. We're expanding routes all over the place. Microtransit is here, and we have a bright future for GRTC. So just want to say thank you publicly. Yep. All right, Mr. Hughes is up next. Public roads and sidewalks. Yes, sir.
Mr. Nelson. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to skip over that. She covered transit. The only thing I'll add is we are working on adding essential transit amenities to our routes. So like 9 Mile, our team's currently working with GRTC pretty closely on identifying some of the higher volume locations to put shelters in. But yeah, I just got a couple quick slides on some of the things you may have seen us do or doing and wondering what's going on. So around Varina, and as Mr. Nelson mentioned, it is a very large area. We've been doing a lot of projects, so it's really hard. I don't think I probably cut a lot of the projects that we have in the works and really focused on things that we're going to be doing over the next couple of years. But we have been improving a lot of roads in Eastern Henrico. That's a list of some of the roads that we've improved. So if you're familiar with those roads, they were narrow 16, 18-foot width roads. They've all been completely rebuilt. And we have a number of others that we will be identifying in the future to to make them more consistent. So these are the roads they're too narrow for double yellow lines, and been widening those out. So we now have separate dedicated lanes. We've also been working on, for a number of years, if you're familiar with the Virginia Capitol Trail, just opened up the new bathroom there. So there's now bathroom amenities at the Capitol Trail for those that want to use that. It's an exciting project. And then we recently completed improvements on Dabbs House Road, which is off of 9 Mile Road right up the street. And continuing, there's more photos of that, and kind of continuing in the same area, Creighton Road, which is a long time coming. That's a project that's nearing completion, either later this year or early next year, where we'll be improving Creighton and some of the surrounding areas. So if you're familiar with Laburnum over at Kings Ridge, we've got since with the Dabbs House Road project coming to near completion and some of the improvements that we're doing on Creighton, there's a little bit of a missing connection there at Kings Ridge over to Dabbs House Road. So we'll be working on connecting that. And as part of that project, we'll be adding a signal at Kings Ridge and Laburnum, as well as some other improvements in that area. So for those that, if you follow the news or you follow things closely, so we've had our challenges with some of, I guess, with pedestrian safety around the county. A lot of the roads are, like I said, these higher speed roads. So we've been working, our police department, launching a campaign called Watch Out Ahead, Henrico, or WHOA, and we've been handing out vests. I think we're well over 40,000 vests handed out so far. I'll have some available here, but they're available for anyone that wants them at our libraries, the police stations, and at the government centers. And we've been handing those out. And not that this is the solution. There are other things that we're working towards. I've got a follow-up slide on that. But really, this is a campaign for those driving. There are pedestrians that walk on our roadways. Be aware. And then if you're a pedestrian, at nighttime, if you're not wearing something reflective, you're difficult to see, especially with, I'll mention Varina. It's a lot of dark roads at nighttime. So this will help from a visibility standpoint. And this isn't just if you're on a main road, if you're in a neighborhood street. So that's where we're making these vests available. And we also have children's sizes. So it's available for children as well. But last month, our board, in response really to some of the challenges that we're having, they appropriated $1.5 million for priority roadway lighting. So this isn't, we're not lighting every street in the county, but really targeting some areas where we've seen a number of nighttime crashes. So close to 90% of our fatal pedestrian crashes are all happening at nighttime. It's not that pedestrian crashes don't happen in the daytime, but they seem to be more severe at night. So we are working with our police department, identifying some of the corridors that have some of the largest safety concerns. And then we'll be also engaging with the state, the Virginia Department of Transportation, and identifying some of these corridors where we can add lighting to really help improve some of the conditions. So just a quick overview, and I got some slides showing specifically what's going on in Varina, but also in regards to pedestrian safety, we are building a lot of sidewalk. We've got over $170 million worth of active sidewalk and trail projects that are underway. We just have a lot. We have a lot of projects underway. There's just a lot of our network that doesn't have sidewalk, but there's a lot to come. We've got, in Varina alone, a number of projects that I'll kind of click through here. So here's Airport Drive. We've got a funded sidewalk project that is underway to add some missing sidewalk that's not too far from here, just past, if you take a left at Airport Drive if you're leaving here. That's the location there. We also have a pretty big project on the Burnham Avenue, especially around White Oak, the White Oak area. So we received some federal funds to build a large stretch of sidewalk on the Burnham. Around Varina High School, we also received some funding for a 12-foot shared use path. So we'll be able to connect from Varina High School over to the Virginia Capitol Trail. Let's provide some pedestrian amenities for some of the students there that want to be able to walk home. We're also doing a number of things from a bike standpoint. So we developed a bike plan, and it's still technically in draft form. It's going to be part of the comprehensive plan efforts, but we're already in the works of initiating. So another project that we've initiated nearby on New Bridge was adding a number of bike lanes. And every time I'm through there, I usually will see people biking on that. One of the other benefits of these bike lane projects, especially on some of our roads, it does provide a safe place for people to walk as well, especially if we're in an area where we have extra pavement, but we do not have sidewalk. So not to forget the intersection level, we do have a number of projects where we are building roundabouts. We've got a project that we're looking to do a quicker build roundabout on Doran near 4 Mile Run. So this is a road that we've had some challenges with speeders. There's a Virginia Capitol Trail crossing just upstream for that. So kind of in response really to a number of the concerns with the neighborhood, we identified this is a good location for a roundabout. It'll help kind of slow traffic down. It's the exact midpoint between Darbytown and Route 5, and also will help provide some intersection safety. We also had some concerns of intersection safety, but a signal wasn't necessarily the appropriate treatment. Another roundabout on Darbytown. So this is right up the street. This is Doran at Darbytown. So there's an intersection there. So with some of the subdivisions coming in, the county did get a portion of right-of-way dedicated to realign part of Doran there to intersections at a skew, tough intersection. So we're currently working through that process. That also would help that intersection align with the school there. And then right down the street, again, from us here, a roundabout that we're looking at Beulah, 9 Mile and Williamsburg Road. So that we're starting the design process on that. There will be some public meetings in respect to this project, but really will help align an intersection that has had some safety challenges just with the way the intersection is configured and doesn't necessarily line up. And this will also add a potential, gateway coming into the Sandston area. Working with VDOT, and this is another one that came through your office. We've had a number of requests for a study on 9 Mile and pedestrian amenities. So we were able to get the state to fund a study on 9 Mile, really through this stretch of 9 Mile all the way down to Williamsburg Road. And the focus is going to be on adding pedestrian accommodations through the corridor. So that study is just getting started. So some point spring next year, there will be a chance for public participation to hear from the public. Another study, and this one actually, we'll have a public meeting on November 18th. This is a VDOT study on Route 5, really the stretch between 895 and 295. We've had a number of safety concerns on Route 5 and have been working really closely with the state, and they committed to doing a study, and their findings will be presented to the public at that meeting. So this is one to look ahead, and I'll apologize in advance for any inconvenience, but for those that live on Meadow Road, we have, there's a culvert. A lot of times you drive over these things, you don't necessarily know that they're there, but we've got a bridge. It's come due for maintenance. So we've got design plans. We're about to bid this project out later this year. And for a period of time, starting early next year, we will have Meadow Road closed for a period so that we can replace this box culvert here and make it sustainable for the future. And then VDOT, for those, this is just more for general awareness. They had a public meeting this summer, but I want to make sure that anyone who drives 9 Mile at 64 is aware. They have a project scheduled a few years out to replace, to do some maintenance on the 9 Mile bridge. And we did get some residents did provide VDOT some comments on that. And one of the big comments, and maybe you agree with it, is, with redoing the bridge, that might be a good opportunity to improve some of the pedestrian accommodations across the bridge. So that informed VDOT on their design. So they're going back and refining some things. But just wanted to make sure y'all are aware of that. That project's coming in the future as well. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight our word from the street. So if you've got a phone, that'll take you to, that QR code will take you to a link where you're able to subscribe. This newsletter provides you with updates and information on upcoming projects, road closures, anything related to our public utilities department, as well as our public works department. It'll keep you informed on what's going on, where we're doing public meetings, where projects are going to construction. So to be in the know from a roadway perspective, please sign up for the newsletter. And with that, I guess I'll answer any questions or.
And good morning to you too. You may be aware on Airport Drive and Hanover Road, there is a median strip there, and the sign continuously gets knocked down. You probably can't do much about it being knocked down, but it brings up an observation that I've had for quite some time. When you have an intersection with a median, I know it's money, but it probably, to me, it would be nice to have some reflective material around the curbside to make it a little bit easier for people to see. Again, that's an observation.
Yeah, that was a good observation. So for airport, I'll have to run that one by VDOT. But one thing we have been doing on some of the medians, we have been there's a new product that we've started installing. It's like a tape that provides a reflective coating around the median. So yeah, great observation and great idea. Yep.
First of all, thank you for all that you do. And also a personal thank you to Reverend Nelson for all that you're doing, the county as well, to make progress to help us as citizens. My question is in regards to the bus shelters on 9 Mile Road. There's lots of, I see a lot of folk who are waiting for the bus in the elements on the ground, waiting for the bus. So I know that Reverend Nelson, you had said give you about a year in regards to that. What progress is being made to help these citizens, in particular near the hotels where the homeless live? Some of the homeless live. What are we going to do about that? Because it really touches me when I see them on the ground. They're sleeping, they're waiting for the bus, or it's raining and they're waiting for the bus, or snowing and they're waiting for the bus. What progress is being made in regards to that? And then I have a second question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, and I mean, I'll not to speak for you, but we have the same sentiments when we see people without amenities waiting for the bus. So we have funding. Funding is in place. So it's not a money issue. Right now, the timing is just we're currently purchasing easements and land to install the bus shelter. So we're working with property owners and businesses in terms of location. But we have a project, pretty big project countywide where we're working parcel by parcel and identifying locations. A lot of that work has been done. So now we're in the land acquisition stage. Once we acquire the land, we'll work with VDOT on some of the permitting side, and hopefully pretty soon we'll have some shelters. But we're starting to see some progress where a few are installed, and we have a pretty good working relationship with GRTC. So the way things work is we go through the process, we get the land, we go through the permitting with VDOT. We build the pad, their team installs shelters right away. So seeing some pretty good progress. I don't know if you wanted to add something there. Okay.
Appreciate that. The other question is, you mentioned Williamsburg and Beulah for roundabout, in which Reverend Nelson had already informed us about it. I'm concerned about the high volume traffic in a roundabout. How do you plan? What's the strategy for that when you've got a Technology Boulevard traffic and coming out in Elko Middle School traffic coming out and others going east and west? What's the strategy for that light? Because I happen to live in that area. What's going to be the strategy for high volume traffic in the roundabout?
Oh, yeah. So, so whenever we install or make a recommendation for a roundabout or anything, signal, there's a process where you analyze what it will do and how it will operate. So we take existing traffic, we forecast out 20 to 30 years into the future and project how the intersection is going to operate. Surprisingly, I will say roundabouts actually, they perform pretty well. They handle traffic. A lot of times it's just making sure the design can accommodate the trucks, and that's where you'll see it looks like a brick paver for decorations in the roundabout, but that accommodates the trucks with trailers and helps them track over top of it, or even fire trucks. So those are all the considerations that go into it. And just in looking at the traffic, the roundabout, from what we're modeling, performs pretty well with traffic. It'll actually probably be an improvement over we're expecting it to be an improvement over the existing signal.
Thank you. One of the biggest things about roundabouts, generally people don't like them, but when you look at the stats, they work. And so, Darbytown and Turner, you know, I was getting killed over that roundabout. Everything about it, the way it looked, etc. Yet, I still don't know about one accident that has happened at that roundabout since we installed it. And so, it's people don't like the way it looked. That's fine. I can hear the complaints about the way it looks all day, as long as no one is getting hurt there. And that's what we've been really seeing about roundabouts across the county. They have made intersections safer.
I was wondering, will there be any traffic lights or sidewalks in the area where the new fire station is coming? And also shelter for people who are waiting for the buses?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So yes, so as part of the fire station project, there is some sidewalk being installed. We also have a funded project that we just took over on 9 Mile Road from the state that's set to really build some sidewalk around that area. So that's really one of our high priority pedestrian safety areas. So yes, there is some sidewalk coming. And then to answer your question about a light, yes, the fire station will have a signal as well.
Which, I'm assuming you're talking about the Bungalow City? Yes. So we also have another fire station, which I'm excited about that one. And I'm sure Deputy Chief Ely will talk about the new police station, the new South Police Station. But we are also preparing to build a fire station at Masonic and Gay as well. So that'll be another state-of-the-art. I just had a community meeting about that in the last month. So I'm excited. I can't wait until we do the ribbon cutting at Bungalow City. So
Thank you.
is that it? All right, thank you. Oh, hold on. One more.
With the number of subdivisions that are coming around Duran Road, are there any plans to expand Duran or widen it?
Oh, as far as widening, no, ma'am. So a lot of when subdivisions go through the rezoning process, there is a traffic study requirement. So along Duran, there is no plan for widening. I think we anticipate the road can handle the traffic. Our big concern is really at that intersection with Darbytown. So that's where I showed the slide where we're looking at a roundabout to help connect that intersection. So, and then we also, the VDOT study is looking at improvements at Duran and Route 5. So I'd say those are the two locations that we're focused on for the future, largely from a safety standpoint. But yeah, a lot of that was factored in when those subdivisions were approved.
So on Duran, you think about it. So it's 3 different places. So it's the entry on Darbytown and Duran, which we're looking at, and then in the middle, which is 4 Mile and Duran, and then on the other end, we're working with the state. We're working with VDOT, Delegate McQuinn, and so I don't know what's going to end up being there. It may be a light, something. We've been doing things that we can do on our side on Route 5 and Duran, but the state has some bigger plans, hopefully. So the traffic mitigation on Duran, we're trying our best to deal with it. Yep. All right, thank you, sir. Chief.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone here. Unfortunately, Chief English is in Boston right now at a conference, so I'm going to do my best. The impersonation of him I can do today, with all due respect. So first, I thought I had good news coming in today. Then we had some people this weekend decided to ride around Sandston in a car and shoot windows out with an airsoft gun. So if that happened to you, I want to apologize, number one. Number two, you should see detectives in your neighborhood today walking around, knocking on doors, doing a canvas, trying to talk to people, especially if you have any kind of Ring cameras or anything with a captured a video or something we can go off of. We do have some now, but we're still trying to connect with everyone in the community. Even though they weren't victims, there may be people that do have information. So we will be coming in your neighborhood today for sure, knocking on doors, talking to people. So we're following up on that diligently as we can today. On a positive note, I just want to say when it comes to crime in Varina, it is actually overall crime is down 27%, which exceeds the county average by double. Countywide, it's down 12%. Varina's 27%. Year to date. Where we're seeing the most significant reductions actually is auto theft. Last year we had a huge spree of auto thefts in Varina, and it all involved the Hyundai and Kia auto thefts. It was a TikTok challenge where people would see how you could defeat the anti-theft system. Right now we're down 43% in Varina when it comes to auto theft year to date from last year. So we've made between education, engagement. The county was generous enough to purchase auto theft prevention devices. So if you have one of those vehicles and need one, let us know. We can get you one. They're steering wheel locks for the most part. And the other thing is if you do have one, contact your dealer for the update if it hasn't been done. The recalls have made a huge difference. We're still seeing vandalisms on Kias where people think they can break in, but because of the anti-theft measures, they're not taking them. So we're seeing more vandalism because of it, but the thefts aren't happening. All across the board, I mean, it's been a great change. The only thing we haven't seen a reduction on in Varina this year is rapes. We had 3 this time last year. We're at 3 this year. None of them are stranger. They're known individuals. So, and most of these when we see are involve some sort of connection, whether it be using social media to meet or some sort of app to meet each other, and things don't go as planned. Everything else, we're looking good across the board. Mr. Hughes talked about the fatalities so far in Varina. We've had 9 fatal accidents this year. 6 of them have been on county roads. 3 of them have been handled by state police on the interstates. The common factor we're seeing is pedestrians is clothing, dark clothing at night, and speed. We are heavily working on traffic and speed enforcement in the area. I believe it or not, 2 weeks ago, they wrote my aunt a ticket. So she was driving fast on Strath Road and they called me. I was like, she got a ticket. So, we are out enforcing speeding the best we can to make our roadways safer. The other good news is as far as the county goes, if you remember coming out in the before COVID, overdoses. We are seeing a huge amount of overdoses in the county. It was amazing, the numbers. I'd never seen it in my 25 years here. And as of right now, countywide, we have a 44% reduction in overdoses. There's a lot of things can be attributed to that, but I think the biggest thing is us working with our health organizations and our community partners to really get Narcan out in the community and have it available. Prior to a few years ago, it was prescription based, but now it's more freely available. You can pick it up from anywhere, from drugstores, the health department, everyone in the county has it, and it's made a huge impact. And I'm a firm believer in Narcan. I've said this before, recovery is a choice, and the more Narcan out there gives them more choices to overcome it. So we can't force people to make a change, but we can give them opportunities, and that's what Narcan does, and we hope that at some point it does make a difference. When it comes to South Station updates, Mr. Nelson spoke about it. If you haven't noticed it, we're building a new police station on Airport Drive. So it's going to be our South Station Operations Center, as well as we're going to have a canine facility in the back. Currently, we occupy space on East Park Court. And prior to that, our headquarters was actually Dab's house for the East End. So we are in an 1800s building. So we've come a long way in 25 years. For those of you in the community, if you need a community room, we will have one at the new station that's available that you can work with the captain or the secretary of the building or the facility manager to use that if you need to for community meetings. We'll have canine kennels in the back for our division canines. And it'll be a great facility. We should be occupying in January of 25. One thing that I think has made a huge difference for us, and I'm sure you've seen them around, is our investment in technology. Two big things we invested in the last year is in our forensic unit. We invested in NIBIN or brass tracks. And what that is, it's essentially we can take shell casings from crime scenes, put them into a computer, and within a matter of hours, it connects to other crimes if there's a connection. And so it has made a huge difference in us solving gun violence. And actually right now, countywide, our firearm violence is actually down, I believe it is 6% year to date, which is amazing. It has made a huge difference. We're able to make connections quicker, identify suspects, and apprehend those involved in firearm violence more quickly. The other thing that's made a difference, and you've seen on your roadways, is the county's invested in what's called flock. Flocks are fixed LPRs. They aren't video cameras. They don't actively record. But when a car goes by, they capture an image of the vehicle. It has been instrumental in our ability to solve crimes, and I dare to say it's probably going to solve the vandalisms in Sandston for us once we get a suspect vehicle and we run it through the system. We've solved homicides, we've solved shootings, we've solved burglaries, we've solved robberies. It's made a huge impact in us identifying people involved in violent crime in the county and arresting those responsible. Other than that, that's all I really have for what's going on in the police department as far as the Varina district goes. I will add to Mr. Hughes's comment about roundabouts you guys asked. I don't know if you've ever been further south, but if you get off on the Temple Avenue exit at 95, they installed a roundabout there off an interstate interchange 5 years ago, and I would dare to say accidents have probably gone down 80%. It has made a huge difference in a bad intersection, and it moves so much smoother if you go through that intersection, once you get the hang of it. It takes some use because all of us, when we went to driving school years ago, they didn't teach us roundabouts. We didn't get roundabouts in driver's ed. But once you realize how it works, it makes a huge difference. It's made the intersection of Woodman Road better when I traverse that every day off 295. You know, as he said, studies will show sometimes it's safer to go right to make a left turn. It sounds counterintuitive, but it makes a huge difference. And they made a big difference when it comes to our high accident locations in the county as well. So I'm available for any questions you may have, and feel free to pepper me if you need to.
All right, questions? Yes.
Hi, I was one of the vehicles that was broken into this weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know if it's related, but we have seen an uptick of folks kind of walking through the neighborhood out of the park past dusk.
Okay.
So is there any plan to maybe do additional kind of patrol?
Absolutely, we can. Absolutely, absolutely. So we do our best to be everywhere all the time. And the other thing is we can, yes, and I'll make a note of that. The other thing is if you see something suspicious, give us a call. And what we do is when we get calls like that, first we evaluate it to see if it's even something we need to respond to and look at it, because I mean, we don't want to go up to everybody that someone thinks is suspicious. You know, we have to use where we are and what's going on, but we'll evaluate it. I mean, and we'll see what's going on. Sometimes we may not stop, we may not call you because it may be something we see that you didn't. It makes it a reasonable for them to be there. So we try to have positive interactions with everybody to start with, and assume they're doing the right thing.
Can we make sure, because you're here, and if the deputies are walking your neighborhood now, you may get missed. Can you, once
Yeah,
this
I'll
is
get your
over-
information
yeah,
when this is over so they can follow up with you.
Yeah, we're sorry that happened.
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody else?
Wow.
All right, well, you better go sit down before somebody else come up. Yeah.
I'll be around if you have any questions.
I do want to go on record and say it is good to hear. We don't talk about it a lot, that crime is going down in Varina. Generally, I hear that crime is like out of control and Varina is like a third world country, but technically it's not. And there have been times over the last 2 years that even one quarter this year where when I first was elected to this district, Varina and Fairfield were 1 and 2 with crime. And there are times now where out of the 5 districts, Varina has dropped to number 4. And we are more number 3 than we are number 2 now. And so are there things that we need to do? Yeah. I mean, we need to get better in certain areas. But it's not as bad as individuals would say that it is. So thanks for what you guys do, and we'll continue to get better at what we're doing. All right, Mr. Christian is going to come with Department of Public Utilities, and then we're going to end with Parks and Rec.
Good morning, everybody. Behind me is Cobbs Creek Reservoir. We're nearing completion on that. We hope to have it finished next year. It's going to be the biggest reservoir in the state. It'll hold 14 billion gallons over 1,100 acres. Tell people where that is. Okay, so we acquired about 1,500 acres in Cumberland County, and it was intended to be a regional reservoir to help serve everybody, but a lot of our partners backed out at the last minute. So the board was great, and they were able to ensure that we were able to build this. This is going to provide water, ensure our ability to provide water for the next 50 years, and be able to expand our water system. We currently received $64 million in ARPA funds, American Rescue Act Plan funds, and we are going to utilize all those funds to bring water and sewer to areas that are served by well and septic. All 30 projects will be completed by 2026, with the last set being awarded now. 600 to 800 homes will be impacted by the projects. In Varina, we'll be able to take 106 people off of wells and 125 people off of septic. We have currently in Varina 4 projects under construction and 1 under design. And this is a map of the area of the ARPA projects that we're currently working on. The light blue is design, and the pink is what we have under construction. We also have a well testing program where we're dealing with PFAS that was found in wells. To date, we've tested over 400 homes. We have had a delay in getting letters out, but if you've had your well tested and have not been called by us, then that indicates that there's no problem. We're still going to get letters out. What we have been doing is if there was a detect in the well testing, we contacted the citizens. We're continuing to do filter systems for homes that are detected, and we're putting in these filter systems at no cost to the citizen. At our recent board retreat, the Board of Supervisors recommended that we provide universal countywide solid waste collection. So this will expand service everywhere. Here's the map. Currently, this is what we currently serve. Currently, we're at 70%. And these are the phases as we intend to expand service. We hope to complete everything in the next 3 years, and we'll be sending out notices to let the citizens know when refuse collection will come in your area. Okay, as you all know, leaf collection season is going on. We sent out a new brochure. You should all have a copy of it by now. Keep in mind that we will be picking up bag leaves in 2 phases. So there's an early pickup, and then there's a late pickup. Public Works is actually handling the vacuum leaf collection. And so there's the map and the schedule for the pickup. And look on the brochure carefully. If you choose to do vacuum leave, Public Works has graciously provided a QR code as well as the website to the company that will be doing the vacuum leave. And that is it for public utilities. Under 10 minutes, sir. Yes. Yes, sure. That one? All right.
All right, any questions?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not sure if public utilities handle this or not, but when the trucks come around and they cut down trees and NIMS is in the wires, why are they leaving the wood in residents' yards?
That's not public utilities.
It's not,
No.
okay? Well, with,
So if they're clearing their like power lines and stuff,
yeah,
that's Dominion. And you should actually reach out to them and let them know that they've left debris in your yard.
okay.
And I'll just say this, if it happens, you can just reach out to my office. I'll give you my card with my number. We'll verify who it is, and then we'll help you get in contact with them. Okay?
Great.
All right.
My second question is, when the waste management team comes around and collect trash, why are they leaving the tops off the cans?
Why did they leave the tops off of cans? Not making excuses for anybody because they actually work directly under me. I will say that if there are automated trucks where we have an arm that lifts the can, dumps it, sets it down, sometimes when it sets it down, it'll bounce and the top will come off or pop back open. We've been trying to be more diligent, making sure the drivers, telling them to slow down slightly, making sure that the tops aren't all up, making sure that the cans aren't tipped over. But we do recognize that as an issue, and we are trying to be diligent into not creating that issue, because I would hate for you to put your trash out and then go to work and then it rains all day and then you come back and there's 2 feet of water sitting in your trash can. And I will give you my card after this is over. And if you had that issue again, you reach out to me directly. Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and then we'll open it. Mrs. Zanino will come with a quick presentation, then I'll open it up for just general questions that may not have been answered already.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Good morning. So for the last several of these meetings, we have been having presentations from Recreation and Parks talking about Taylor Farm Park coming. Well, I'm here today to tell you it has opened. So show of hands, how many of you have been out to Taylor Farm Park? All right, almost, I look like 75% of the room. So if you haven't been, please come. We did open this past July. We've been open for a little over 2.5 months, and I can tell you in that time, we've had over 135,000 guests come to that park. So to put that into perspective, our highest attended park last year was Deep Run Park with about 350, 400,000 guests for the entire year. Taylor Farm Park has hit almost a third of that in just 2.5 months. We're actually on pace to be over 1 million guests at that park. So if you haven't been, a few highlights. We have something for everyone at that park. We have our largest playground system, a large water play area. We have a BMX bike area, all-wheel skate park, a memorial garden, and then we also have a large network of trails. So if you haven't come, please come out. If you have come, you know that we've learned that part of our success is we need more parking. So we are identifying some areas that we could potentially go back in to add some additional parking. And then we've learned some things on some of the water features, the interactive play stream. Kids really love that feature, but we've learned some best practices. So this winter and spring, we'll be going back in to make some improvements to those areas. potentially adding some shade, and then shoring up some of the areas around that. And then parking is something that we're looking at doing. So we're evaluating that now to make some improvements. But if you haven't come out, please come out. Also, Dory Dog Park. So we recently this summer did some renovations out there. We had some drainage issues, which kept the area constantly wet. And then we also had some complaints about needing more shade. That's been an initiative in our department. So we've addressed some of those drainage issues, and you can see here through this picture some of the shade and benches that we've done in that area. So today, I'm happy you're the first group I can say this to publicly, but we are an accredited agency, and we just went through a reaccreditation, and it was actually about 14 days ago, we went to our national conference and were reaccredited. You have to do that every 5 years. We're one of 14 agencies in the state of Virginia. There's about a little over 200 nationwide that are accredited. So we're happy to announce that we have been verified and reaccredited. So we are good for the next 5 years. What that means for you guys is it's just reassurance that we are doing what the industry says is best practice. Accreditation for us is voluntary. It's not mandated, but it's an important step for us to really know that we're doing what's right and that we're providing what is the best practice in the industry. And it is a very vigorous process. There's 154 standards that we have to meet and provide narrative to. We wrote over 200 pages of narrative, had over 300 documents to show that we are doing what we say we are doing. So we're happy to announce that this morning. Also, part of that, so we were in the news a little bit ago. End of September, we went through a master plan update. It's the first time that our agency has updated the master plan since 1999. And at the second board meeting in September, the board adopted our new master plan. This has been about a 2 to 3 year process to update this plan. We started that process with community engagement. We had a number of different, we had a statistically valid survey, and then we've had some listening sessions and other engagement opportunities. We actually got over 4,000 responses, and then we used those responses to help formulate the plan. So this is the cover of the plan. If you want to find the full document, it is on our website. It's also on the planning department's website, but it is out there for you to read. It's designed to be a 10-year plan and really guides our decision making. Some highlights for you guys. It has all of our inventory of parks. We have 56 parks. But some of the key takeaways, working with Public Works, connectivity parks is an initiative. So finding ways so that you don't have to just drive to parks, but you can bike or walk through active transportation. So that was one of the areas that we identified that we need to improve on. So we're working with Mr. Hughes and Public Works on future projects. One of our key initiatives is providing spur connections to some of these larger trail networks. So like Capitol Trail, how can we connect some of our parks to the Capitol Trail? Dory Park is connected. We're working on a project now where we could connect Dory Park down to Deep Bottom. And then there's also connection on the Capitol Trail. In the western side, working on how can we connect to the upcoming Fall Line Trail, which will connect to Glover Park, and then maybe there's some other opportunities. So connectivity to our trail network was a huge initiative. And then providing some neighborhood level amenities was another finding. So Taylor Farm Park was a huge need in this community. So we're glad that we can bring that to this community. But then looking at future lands that we own or potentially may need to acquire to provide neighborhood or community level amenities. So we'll be looking at that over the next several years. In the Varina district, we actually own a handful of undeveloped parcels that we could develop as the population increases in certain areas. And there are some deficiencies. in and around this area, potentially providing some more neighborhood level parks, whether it is a property we already own or property that's undeveloped. So we'll be looking at how we can provide those. Number one requested amenity was trails. So where can we provide a network of trails, whether it's just a loop trail or connecting trails? That was actually the top three. It was paved trails, exercise trails, and gravel trails were the top three requested amenities before you get to things like playgrounds. So those are some of the key takeaways. But again, that entire document can be found on our website. Some program updates. So I saw Mr. Montgomery, John Montgomery here. This Saturday, we have the Fall Festival for the Dory's Farmers Market. It's their closing event, so come on out. I believe 9 to 12. We'll have lots of festivities out there. Also, we have later, beginning of December, an open house at Clark Palmore House. There's a number of activities here at Henrico Theater that you can do. So we have concerts, we have movies, all throughout the month of December. And then how many of you are familiar with the Holiday Express Tour? Only a couple of you. So this was something that came out of COVID that we've continued to do. And what we do is we take a caravan of vehicles and we drive through a number of neighborhoods and community areas and then have some of these host locations. So look for more information, but we'll have a night designated for the Varina district. And we'll be posting that route so you can come see the police vehicles, fire trucks. We'll have a float with Recreation and Parks. And then we'll have some landing spots where at the end, typically we do things like hot chocolate, where you can kind of meet some of the staff, see the trucks, see the equipment. But we're really excited about that. In closing, you can find all of what I just talked about in our app. One of the cool things that we have right now, we have a challenge feature in our app, and for those who are good with technology or younger generation, we have an augmented reality challenge. So you open up the app and then you kind of go on a scavenger hunt. So we have this spooky challenge where you can only see this little ghost through the lens of your phone, based on where you're at in the park. So if you haven't downloaded that app, I would encourage you to do that. It has a list of all of our parks, all of our amenities, all of our programs, all of our activities and events. And then it also has this challenge feature where you can engage with us. And it's kind of our little version of a Pokemon Go, which was a huge trend that we still see. So encourage you. Here's a QR code where you can download that and also have access to all of our social media platforms. So with that, I will answer any questions. She's coming with the mic.
I just wanted to take the time to say thank you because I do live Whiteside Road and Nash Road, and the citizens there had a concern and it was addressed right away. And the no parking signs were placed there. And I wanted to return to say thank you because oftentimes there are complaints. But I think also as a citizen, proud citizen of Henrico County, I wanted to say I've returned on behalf of those of us who do live in the Nash Road, Whiteside Road, to say thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you for all of the presenters this morning. Now I'm going to open the floor up for anybody who may have a question that they did not get answered. And I will try to answer it, get someone to answer it, or find the answer and return to you. Yes.
I also want to echo my thanks for this meeting. They're so helpful.
Thank
This is not a topic that we addressed today. Can you give us a heads up on where we are on the comprehensive plan that's being developed for the county, where the timeline, kind of where we are?
Yeah, so we had one in the district. We had a gathering at the Varina Library maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago now. the board, the planning commission and the board have heard the latest updates. And so we're going to be back out in the community for another, I will hope before the end of 2024, if not the beginning of 2025. So we'll do everything that we can to make sure that we promote when that will be. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
With the development of housing from the East End, from Azalea to 9 Mile, there are changes probably in the school zoning. Will there be any changes in population and school zoning in the East End?
Yes, ma'am. That's a question for the school board. And so the board, I'm on the board of supervisors, that's general government. We fund schools, but we don't make decisions about day-to-day operations within the schools. Generally, I would try to answer those questions, but I have no idea. If I was a betting man, I would suspect so population in our schools, ironically, is decreasing. So when schools, when they do rezone, it will continue to go west, not come east. So I was at Henrico High School a couple of weeks ago. Principal said they only had 1,260 students. I think Varina may be in the 1,300 range. 1,400 is a stretch, probably. I'm not sure. Capacity of the building is like 2,000. So even Highland Springs, which had 2,000 kids 2 years ago, is now at about 1,850. So they're even though it seems like we're building a lot of homes, they're not as many kids as in the past. So younger parents aren't having a lot of kids, and so our school population continues to kind of go down somewhat. But I would say reach out to your school board rep. If you live in the Varina district, that's Alicia Atkins. I can give you her telephone number when we're done.
One other question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the procedure for speed bumps on your street?
You want to speak to that? Yes.
So yeah, so a lot of it is by request. So, and we can connect, but we have a neighborhood traffic calming program. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but a lot of times I'll tell people to Google Henrico traffic calming program, and it has the information on what to fill out. So essentially, we've actually made some changes to make the program a little bit easier. Where in the past you used to have to go door to door and get petitions from your neighbors. So at this point now, the process is you email us, we'll measure speeds, and then if it's actually an issue, we'll move forward with installing speed bumps. But yeah, I can connect with you afterwards. Okay.
And we've been doing that all over the district. I would suspect all over the county. I did have a couple questions that came in beforehand. One of them was about speed bumps in Varina Chase. From Ms. Lee, if you're watching, I'll get an answer to you. And then another one in Duran, on Ken Van Road, about speed humps and sidewalks. So we'll get, if you guys are watching, we'll get those answers to you. Yes.
Dr. Nelson, I'd be interested in what we know about.
Dr. Nelson, I'm not there yet, but I appreciate that. No, doctor, just say.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Reverend Nelson.
Yes, sir.
I'd be interested in knowing what we know about commercial development along Williamsburg Road from Whiteside to 295. That's the landmark area at Dry Bridge.
Yeah. So, I think in the proposed plan, there, I know there's supposed to be like a fast food restaurant and something else, but there's also space allocated for a grocery store. But, that really is about market, and it's been space allocated for a grocery store on Dry Bridge for a while. But if it's going to happen, it'll happen now. I just don't think it was the, you didn't have the head count there, but that area, probably in the next 2 years, as it's being built out, I think there's a very strong possibility that a grocery store will land there as well. So, but I can't speak to exactly what's going to go there. I do know that there is space carved out for retail, commercial, and grocery.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I'm going to piggyback on the gentleman's question about the grocery store because I sent in a question to
I have it
your,
here.
okay. And here's the response. It confused me, so maybe you can clear this up.
I can have it right here. There's a
You have it?
30,000 square foot grocery
Yeah.
store at the corner. Pretty much what I just said. It's space that's been allocated for about 20 years. When that area was first rezoned 2 decades ago, there was space in the conceptual plan for a grocery store. It just never materialized. Now, with the uptick in residential in that particular area, the likelihood of a grocer wanting to locate in that area is high. What we do from the county perspective is approved zoning. So these are the approved uses for the area. This is the type of housing, uses, etc. So commercial is approved there, but a grocer has to want to come there. Does that make sense? Like, we don't go out and find the grocer. Now, the developer who is a developer in the area makes a conscientious effort to try to go and find it. I don't want to speak for Mr. Godsey, he's not here. But from my conversations, the likelihood of the likelihood of commercial and a potential grocery store has higher possibility than any other time in the past. I can't give you the specific answer though. I tell people all the time about this area. I'll give you an example. Last week, Chick-fil-A opened up. And social media, which sometimes I need to just stay off of it because it just depresses me. But social media, people just going crazy about a Chick-fil-A coming there. Listen, that 9-mile corridor is zoned for a lot of different uses. And so no one has developed there. Chick-fil-A said, we'll buy that space, we'll develop. The county of Henrico has nothing to do with that other than to make sure that all their permitting is straight. So we want a Wegmans. I love a Wegmans too, but Wegmans has to want to come here. Government doesn't go and drag people to a place. We set it up so they can come, but they have to want to come. So I actually don't shop in Walmart. No Walmart. I'm just not a Walmart guy. But I was happy when Walmart came to 9-Mile Road. They offered jobs. You could choose. You can still go to the Walmart in Mechanicsville, but you can go to the one on 9-Mile Road now. Anybody that wants to come to our part of town, I'm appreciative. The ones that don't want to come, don't fuss at us. Go fuss at them. Ask Wegman why they don't want to come in. I can tell you why, but I won't say that in a public forum. All right. Any other questions? All right, good people. Well, thank you.